rear diff on this Impala. I think it's a 1/2-inch socket, or they're 1/2-inch bolts. It's 10 of them. It's a 10 bolt rear end. Right now I'm draining the diff fluid. What's good, grind schoolers? It's your boy Rob, and today we're back in the shop. So what we got today is we got rear wheel bearings on the Impala. I know I did a video before and said that it was the front wheel bearings. It actually was not the front wheel bearings. I think it's the back wheel bearings. I had the car taken out to a shop, and they said that I had a rear wheel seal leak on the right side, and I also have an axle leak in the back. So I think that's what it is. It's kind of consistent with what I'm hearing, so I'm hoping that's what it is, because I'm about to take this whole rear end apart. Not really the whole rear end, but I'm taking the axles out so I can replace the wheel bearings and stuff like that. So we're gonna go ahead and get to that. The car passed inspection, so I'm super geeked about that. The car passed inspection, so this is the last thing that I have to do before I get to up under the hood and do all the emission stuff, and basically tune up stuff like spark plugs, wires, cap and rotor, water pump, stuff like that. Change the oil, transmission stuff. So this is the last thing I got to do before then, and then after we do that, I should be able to get the plates for the car, and then she'll be on the road. So so here's what we got. We already got the car jacked up. We have to get under here and get those bolts out. I already got the bolts in the bottom out, so we have to get the cover off of the differential so that we can drop the diff, or drain the diff fluid, and then we'll take the brake system apart, take that caliper off, take the rotor and stuff off. I got new rotors for the back as well, upgraded rotors, and then we have to go in there and take the bolts out for the that hold in the axle shaft, and then we can pull the axle out, and then we'll be able to go ahead and get everything done and taken care of. And hopefully, like I said, that's the problem, and we have no issues with that, because I really want to drive my car. I bought this car about September, late August, early September, and I haven't been able to drive it other than cruising around the neighborhood real quick, up and down a couple of blocks, but that's pretty much it. I haven't been able to like get in and actually go like I really want to. So hopefully that solves the problem. And then also we're gonna remove all of this nasty tint. You can see the bubbles and stuff. I've already removed some of the other side or whatever, if you can kind of see through there. Obviously not done, but without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and drain the rest of the diff fluid, and then pull this wheel off, and then continue to keep moving forward. Hopefully we can finish the day. If not, the car will just have to sit like it is until we can get done with it. It's actually gonna be a nice day today, so hopefully we can finish up and we can continue to keep moving on in the process, because I'm determined to get my exhaust hopefully next weekend or the weekend after that, but we'll see. So alright y'all, so stay tuned. We're going to go ahead and get into the video and get this job done. Alright, so for the rear diff on this Impala, I think it's a 1/2-inch socket, or they're 1/2-inch bolts. It's 10 of them. It's a 10 bolt rear end. Right now I'm draining the diff fluid, so after that I'll pull the cover off, and then I'll expose the bolts and I believe the retaining clips for the axle, and then we'll get those out, and then we'll go ahead and pull that tire off, pull that caliper off, and then and the rotor, and then we'll yank the axle out of there. Okay, so next we gotta pull out that 8mm screw right there, pull out the rod right there, drop that out, and then we can get the C-clamps that hold the axles in. I think at this point what I'm gonna do is go ahead and start getting the wheel taken apart. Alright, grind schoolers, so we got the axle shaft pulled out. I'm not really seeing any like scoring or anything on the axle, so I'm not sure if that's the culprit. I'm really hoping that's the culprit, because you know I got this thing all taken apart. I guess we'll look at it once we get this bearing out. It feels like it's spinning freely, so I guess once we get it out, we'll see if that's the culprit. Really hoping that's the culprit. It sounds like it's the culprit, but we'll find out soon enough. Alright, grind schoolers, so this is the axle bearing puller that you need for this particular car, at least. It has like a little disc on the end with a nut, so the nut screws back, this goes back or whatever, and then this little thing on the end slides into the bearing. Make sure you get a good bite on the back of the bearing, then you'll tighten up the nut. The disc will go on the outside of the bearing, and you'll be able to get the slide hammer and pull it out. Make sure you get the size that you need. So we already got that situation all figured out. So what we basically all we do is just use a slide hammer, and now just pull the bearing out. Oh no. So you can see the bearings coming out. I lost my bite on the slide hammer, but we're gonna go ahead and put it back in, pull this bearing out, and then I'll show you guys tapping the new bearing in. Alright, grind schoolers, I already tapped it in, but all you do is you take your little bearing installer kit and you hammer it. Use a kind of a heavy hammer. Hammer it until you hear like a solid sound, to where it's not doesn't sound like you still have more to go. And once it seats, you should be good to go. I kind of demonstrate what the sound sounds like really fast. So you just take this, put it on there, and it sounds like solid. You'll tell that there's no more room to go, and then your bearing is installed. That easy. Okay, now we're gonna roll or put the axle back in. You want to be careful that you don't bang it around in the shaft too much. So I'm gonna go ahead and slide it in. I'm gonna put some grease on here when I slide it in. It's probably not necessary, but I'm gonna do it anyway. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and slide the axle shaft back in there right now. Okay, grind schoolers, so we got the bearing into the axle shaft. We also added some new jewelry. Got the drill and slotted rotors on there. We got some new brake pads on there. Decided to do all of that because we were gonna go in here and do that anyway. We'll upgrade the calipers in the near future after the car is all done. But we got everything all squared away back here. We just gotta clean that orange debris off of the housing. Make sure it's nice and clean, so that when we put the new gasket on, we don't have any issues. No sealing issues, no leaks or nothing like that. But for the most part, we are pretty much done with this job. I'm not done with the other side. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side. I still have that side to do, But I'm gonna go ahead and do that side. Put the gear oil inside the housing once I'm done cleaning it and everything. But for the most part, it's that simple. Make sure the axle shaft is fully seated. I had a problem with the C-clip going back in there, so what I had to do was put the C-clip in there, make sure it's fully seated on the axle shaft, and work the axle shaft back. It was kind of tight a little bit, but we got it to work. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I always say, work hard so you can live free.